Okay, are we ready to go? All right, then I call this meeting of the Hamtramck City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, and it is 7 p.m. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mayor Majewski.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Parada.
Present.
Councilwoman Karpinski.
Present.
Councilman Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilman Al Marsumi.
Present.
Councilman Al Samiri.
Present.
Councilman Hassan.
Present.
That is a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any community announcements, first of all? All right,
Madam Mayor, I
Councilman?
think we're not going to meet before, but the Hamtramck Music Festival is at the end of this month. It's on February 27th, 28th, and 29th. It's about 25 venues, 200 performers, and I think it's $15 for wristband all weekend. So I encourage everyone to check that out. And the Punchki Run is also going to be coming up before our next meeting, right?
Yeah, I hope to meet it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the meeting.
Okay, all right, there's too much going on. Okay, so first of all, as we open up the section on proclamations, recognitions, and presentations, we have a very sad but also celebratory presentation to make honoring departed this week Officer Greg Collins. His family is here, and we'll introduce them a little later. But for his family, his friends, his neighbors, and of course his colleagues in the police department, this is a shocking and deeply felt loss, but not just for them, for the entire city, because Officer Collins served this city with all his heart and soul for many, many years, and gave his life to this city and to service to this city. And so we want to say a few words about him. I'd like to say a few words and then present the family with an official proclamation. This is just, the smallest, of recognitions that we can do for a big man and a big heart. Officer Collins started with the city of Hamtramck in January 1986, and he retired in May 2013, but he didn't go away, right? He started serving as a part-time officer in April of 2015, and his years of training and service were still ongoing through 2019. And he was especially interested in all areas of community policing, and it's as a member of the community that we feel his loss so deeply. I'd like to talk a little bit about his service and his distinguished service for the city. There were letters from residents of Hamtramck praising the service that he provided to them and his work. He had numerous citations of valor. And so, forgive me, please, if I don't have all this at the tip of my tongue and I have to look down because Officer Collins was here longer than I've been here, so I need the crib sheet. But some of you know this much better than I do. He received numerous police department awards and reports of his meritorious police work. And I just want to quote from a few of those comments from his awards and letters of commendation. He was called diligent and professional, a pleasure to handle cases with, professional and courteous, with exemplary comportment. Definitely has what it takes to be an officer. That must have been early in his career, right? down to earth, treats respectable people with a certain gentle attitude, and that's really telling, I think. Much kindness, cooperative, goes above and beyond the call of duty. And I believe, as one quote has it, I believe that Officer Collins should be commended for his actions. And more than that, commended for the life that he lived and dedicated to the city of Hamtramck. So if we could, first of all, have a moment of silence in Officer Collins' memory and in gratitude for the service to his community and for a life well lived. Thank you. And now, I believe, Mr. Mark Collins, will be introducing his family, and then we'll present the certificate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for showing up on behalf of my entire family. I also would like to just add, for people who may not know, not only did he serve this community, but we all grew up in Hamtramck. So we're lifelong, so this is where he grew up and worked. Just stand. His daughter Candace, his oldest daughter.
Hi, Candace.
Son Greg. His 2 grandchildren, Gabrielle and Lauren. Then brothers. I'll introduce them kind of in age order. Cordell. And myself. Then Andre. And then Randy. Randy's wife, Wilma. Randy's 2 children, Victoria and Landon. What else? I'm just going to use the word fiance for now. Renee. Greg's fiance. Angie. Her mother. I didn't miss anyone, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. See, I did.
You're going to hear about this.
I really am. Our cousin, Carl.
Was like a sister.
Right. She is a sister, actually, really. That's everyone that's here, and I'm sorry.
My name's Terry.
He's a longtime friend of Greg.
Yeah.
Yep, longtime friend of Greg. I didn't know him, but. So again, I just want to thank you for doing this. Thank everyone for coming and showing up. I'm sorry, all of his fellow officers who are in the hall. And, you know, it's been hard on all of us. I really feel for those guys because they worked with him every day, and many of them worked with him for 19 years. So I know they're feeling a lot of loss like us. I'm sorry, and Chief also, but you all know the Chief. And again, just thank you, and thank you for all your support, especially to the department. Thank you for everything you have done and will be doing for us.
Thank you.
All right. And then for maybe council members who don't know, he also, because of the respect he had, he was able to coax me and get me a job as a dispatcher. So I have that double sorrow and double duty. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we have a proclamation. I'm going to read that first, and then we can present it to the family. This is, and maybe we should all stand. So this is a proclamation honoring the life of Officer Greg Collins. Greg Collins loved being a police officer. He joined the Hamtramck Police Department in 1986, retired in 2013, and then returned to patrol part-time in 2015. Born, raised, and educated in the city of Hamtramck, Greg Collins was more than just a police officer. His no-nonsense demeanor, work ethic, sense of style, and family of self-appointed cousins, and some real cousins, made him a Hamtramck institution. He never had an unkind word to say about his fellow officers, and they had nothing but respect for him. Everyone in City Hall knew when Greg was on duty just by glancing at the parking lot. Everyone at Hamtramck City Hall is lucky to have known such a good man. Greg Collins lived and breathed Hamtramck, and we are all winded by his untimely passing. The City Council of Hamtramck and I express deep sorrow and regret upon the passing of Greg Collins and extend to his family, his father, his siblings, his children, his grandchildren, and friends, loved ones, the utmost sincere sympathy on our behalf and on behalf of the residents of the city of Hamtramck.
Thank you.
And maybe we can all come around and present this to you. Just give everybody else a chance to get in. So, Mark, family members, I just present this to you on behalf of the city of Hamtramck.
Thank you again. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your dedication to Greg and to the city.
Mark, could you give everybody the funeral arrangements, and then we'll go at ease for a couple minutes?
So the viewing is Friday at 4 o'clock from 4 to 8 at Corinthian Baptist Church, 1725 Kniff. And then the services are family hour Saturday at 10 o'clock from 10 to 11. And then the services start at 11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you there. And we're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Okay. I'll look in the records and
So far, there's no.
Give me a pen. হ্যালো ভাই তোমার
না নাম্বার চেঞ্জ হয় আসলে ওই সময় আমি খুব বিজি ছিলাম
এটা ঠিক আছে
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে
I have to put the email no I have to put the email
if you want to do it
no okay What color is this?
Beautiful. Listen.
Push the someone.
অসুবিধা নেই।
Color you are.
Huh? Oh, what color are you getting? Ezrek.
You want that?
You guys want to get full blue?
We all want it.
Yalla.
Okay. Boom, they take blue.
Yalla.
That's up to you which one you want to take.
Huh? That's gonna what size? It's they say
But they had green and red now. And they had red, white, and black.
I'm more into blues though. I don't know why. See what I have to answer him. Because
Okay, let me show you.
because they want
This is
I'm wondering if those are like
which one you like
true to the
circle.
color or.
Yeah, this does not look. I mean, this is the nicest color.
the size. They have to have a size.
Remember, you're all being broadcast.
What do you put the size?
That's okay, we don't care.
We're sharing our insight. It's fine. Yeah, so I'll definitely go with that. That sounds. That's something August would rock because it's lime green and stuff, right?
green and burgundy color.
August, show me shoes. I'll keep them boys up. Give them a
Oh yeah, they do.
Election day, 4th of July, swearing new officers.
through and through.
What did you pick?
I didn't actually select the color.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Find out which color I was in.
I'll go honestly.
You look like this. You're lighter.
And this one I like it
And
too.
I'll go with this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, I can't decide, like, how are they, like, if it's pink, that's pretty cool. It's not
Yeah.
like a bright pink, you know, so,
It still is sort of pink.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with this.
I kinda like it.
Yeah. This is a great color, man.
It is.
All right, are we ready to,
We're gonna do a run.
reconvene?
Today. Are you gonna run?
And, our next item under proclamations, recognitions, and presentations is the City of Hamtramck Annual Audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. And we have representatives from UHY, our auditors, here to make this presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mike Santicha, partner at UHY.
I'm Marlene Beach. I was the lead partner on the engagement this year.
So we're going to quickly go, we're not going to go through the financial statement, we're going to go through some highlights and certain required communications that we must give you. We audited the financial statements of the government activities, business type activities, and the discreetly presented component unit of each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund for the city of Hamtramck for the year ended June 30th, 19. And we issued an unmodified opinion. That, again, is the highest level opinion that we can issue. And it was, we're going to communicate some of these other policies to you. Management is responsible for the selection and use of the accounting policies. In the financial statement you have, they're noted in note 1. The city did not adopt any new policies this past year. And during our audit, we made sure you followed the policies that you had established. Accounting estimates are also managements. You got to make estimates and assumptions. As part of our audit, we audit those assumptions in essence to make sure they're reasonable, and they were. There was some accounting adjustments that were made. Management, we gave it in the management rep letter that was attached, that was signed by the city manager. We're not aware that these financials will be included in other documents. We're pleased to report we had no disagreements with the city's management over the course of the audit. To our knowledge, there was no consultation with other accountants. And there was no major issues discussed with management prior to our appointment. And there was no difficulties in working. Everything was given to us, and we were able to issue the audit in a timely fashion to the state, and did that. Now Marlene will go over some of the highlights of the numbers.
I get the pictures. So, what we did is we took your general fund revenues and put them into pie charts to compare this year to last year. And if you will notice, the pieces of the pie are fairly consistent, which means your revenues were fairly consistent from year to year. The one big difference you're gonna notice is other revenue. It was about $2 million last year. This year it was about $986, and that was related to the grant you had. You had a federal grant last year that you didn't have, it was just a portion of it left this year. So that's the difference, but other than that, all your pie pieces are about the same, which means, as I said, your revenue has been fairly consistent year over year. Revenue is a little hard, you can't really control it. The one thing you can do a little bit of control over is expenditures, which is the next page. And if you, also the thing you want to look for here is comparison year over year. And if you look again, the pie chart, all the pieces are fairly consistent. Like most municipalities, a good portion of your expenditures go for public safety. And once again, that there was a grant for a portion of that in 18, and of course in 19 the grant was no longer there. Like I said, the rest of the pie pieces are all fairly consistent. Next slide is your general fund balance. So the fund balance is what's left over. You take your revenues minus your expenditures, and that's what's left. I just went back to 15 just to show a general trend. It was up in 2018. Again, a portion of that was part of the grant that was received that was not spent. As it was spent down, your fund balance came down to approximately $7 million in 2019. And again, that's the money that's left over, revenues less your expenditures. Another major fund for the city was the water and sewer fund. Once again, it's the consistency. The sale of water, again, is something you really can't control, how much water you can send, but it was fairly consistent year over year. It was 2.5 in 18, and last year it was about $3 million. Sewage disposal charges were almost identical year over year. And related to your revenues on your sewer and water fund are your expenditures. Once again, looking for consistency. The cost of the sewage treatment, of course, is based on what's sold. But again, fairly consistent, and all the rest of the general administrative expenses actually went down over the years. So you're doing a good job of controlling expenditures, which is the one part you can control in city funds. I also did a fund balance analysis on the last slide of the water and sewer fund. As you can see, that is increasing, which is something important, especially for water sewer, because there are always expenditures that will come up. Infrastructure is very expensive, and so that's the fact that the water and sewer fund has been increasing is a good sign. There was no single audit this year. The federal expenditures did not exceed the $750,000 limit, so there is no report on the single audit this year.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, do we have any questions?
And as Mike mentioned, the report was submitted to the state of Michigan in December in a timely manner.
Go ahead,
Madam
Councilman.
Mayor, anything abnormality or any guys, you guys found anything to address serious issue, anything?
We did not, no. We had some journal entries, but other than that, when we looked at internal controls, we didn't see anything that we felt needed to be reported.
Okay. So it is the final one,
Yes, it is finally, it has already been submitted to the state.
submitted to the state,
Yes.
okay? That's
Yep.
all.
Any other
No,
questions?
it doesn't look like it.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I just want to make a comment if I might. You know, we have a great working relationship with UHY, but I want to commend those that work in the finance department. Susan Hendricks is the key person that works with the auditors along with Gia Hang. And all department heads were expected to submit information and make sure it was there in a timely manner. And we had zero complaints about things coming in slowly or zero complaints. And so we were able to submit this audit in a timely fashion, like they mentioned. And when you do this and it goes into December, having it done in a timely fashion, because those last 2 weeks of December can be holiday time for staff and for our auditors. So it was a pleasure to work with them. And again, I want to commend Susan Hendricks for her fine work.
Thank you.
And we'd like to thank them also.
Then our next presentation is the Hamtramck Police Department Annual Report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Honorable Council. Just to recap for the public, I will read some crime stats information that we compiled for our annual report. In 2019, the police department handled 11,216 calls for service. We made a total of 847 arrests, which broken down was 207 felony arrests and 706 misdemeanor arrests. And you'll note that some of those arrestees may have had multiple charges, and they may have been a combination of both felony and misdemeanors. Officers wrote a total number of traffic citations of 14,812. Those broke down to 9,617 civil infractions, 1,570 misdemeanor traffic infractions, and then we had 3,625 parking-related citations. And again, those may or may not have been connected to one of those calls for service, or they may have been independent. Also in 2019, the Hamtramck Police Department had the following employee changes. We hired 8 new police officers. We saw a total of 8 retirements and or resignations, and including 1 K-9 partner, Yuda. We also brought in a new K-9 partner, Kane, who is now graduated and is officially a police certified dog and is working very well with his handler. We promoted 3 sergeants and 3 detectives in 2019.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Anyone have questions for the chief? Yep, then thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And our next item is census video.
And Madam Mayor, Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Parada and I attended a census meeting at SEMCOG and were able to view this video, and I thought it would be a good one to show the whole community as well as everyone here in the audience and elected officials too.
All right.
Let's see how this sounds.
Okay.
In 2020, the U.S. Census Bureau will take account of everyone living in the
Sound is,
There it is.
huge impact on life in Southeast Michigan. The census determines representation in Congress, how district boundaries are drawn, and planning for things like roads, schools, and emergency services. Southeast Michigan counts. Southeast Michigan counts.
Control?
Detroit counts. And Wayne County counts. Washtenaw County counts. Macomb County counts. Oakland County counts. Monroe County counts. St. Clair County counts. Eastern County counts. Townships count. Cities count. Villages count. We need to count everybody because everybody needs to be represented in government. The federal government uses census data to help distribute more than $675 billion per year to states and state and federal funding obligations are population-based, so an accurate census count is essential to maintaining government services in Macomb County and in the region. Very often, the money we lose is services and benefit that they deserve. You're not going to get that unless you're counted in the census.
To make sure our region is counted the way it should be, each person needs to make sure that Southeast Michigan counts by completing a census response. It's easier than ever to complete the census online, by phone, or through the mail.
So many federal funds are dependent on that, and if we're going to make Michigan prosperous and get our fair share from Washington, it's critical that every one of our residents get counted.
Remember, 10 simple, easy questions.
The census is important because it determines how many seats we have in Congress.
Well, the next decade of our lives depends upon this count. How much representation we have in the legislature and in Congress, how much money comes in for school lunch programs and Medicaid and all types of programs.
All information provided to the census is confidential and safe. Not even other government agencies have access to the data.
And the most important thing is your response is completely confidential.
It is strictly for the census information, so you don't have to worry that that information is going to go to anybody else.
You know, one of the issues that we've had in the counts in the past is that adults tend to be counted but don't fill out the form for their children, and that hurts terribly. So we need everybody in your family to be counted.
Southeast Michigan counts.
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 You count.
Everyone counts. We need everybody to do the census. It's fun and easy.
Take you probably 10 minutes to answer 10 questions, and you're set for the next 10 years.
So that, at every meeting, we made a commitment to talk about the census. We ask all of you, elected officials, to talk about the census. This will be online. We'll put it on Facebook tomorrow so people can view it in their own homes. Because I'm not sure you heard it loud enough today. But the message of this is everybody counts. And for Hamtramck, having every person counted is going to be key to having more federal dollars come to the state of Michigan and ultimately to Hamtramck. So with that, we appreciate, even though we had a little bit of inferior sound, having that program today.
And we have, thank you, and we have one more presentation, and that is the HGTV video. I think we mentioned last week, maybe, that HGTV has a contest going on to determine what city is going to be focused on for their next season. As I'm not exactly sure, what the show is or what they do, but I think that they try to, renovate the town, redo the town. They're looking for cities with traditional downtowns like ours, and I think that we have a lot of assets that they might be interested in and qualities they might be interested in. So we threw our hat in the ring, made a video, and entered the contest. And this is it. I haven't seen it yet.
We had okay, let me preface with, we had a very short timeline to put this in, about 10 days. And that included editing and cutting and pasting and all of these things. Additionally, the gentleman that volunteered to do this, Jamal, wants to come back in the summer and take a piece of this video, but turn it into something, a marketing type video to market the city. And so he's volunteered to do that again. We paid him in lunch, and he was just an excellent asset to the community. So this, if we had worked on it for months and months, it might have been something a little different, but in 10 days, I'm pretty proud of the work that Casey Kopp, our community development associate, and Jamal put together.
All right, let's see what we got.
I love this town. There's really no other way to put it. Is it perfect? No, this is an underserved community, but with the love and compassion we have for each other, our diversity continues to grow. This is what makes us strong. This is why I chose to have a business here, and this is why my children go to school here. It's the whole world in 2 square miles.
Well, Hamtramck promotes itself as the world in 2 square miles, and it's not just a slogan. It really is true. We've got so many people here from so many different nations, and it's utterly amazing. This is a town where you can survive, do quite well without owning a car because it's so walkable. It so close together. And frankly, you don't have to speak English because you will find somebody, no matter where you are from, who can help you communicate, and every service that you want, everything you need is within your grasp. You will be able to find whatever you need.
I'm the owner of a coffee shop here in Hamtramck. I came here to Hamtramck in 2016. I was looking for property to open business in the Detroit area, in suburbs where I used to live. And I decided to come here. The city has many advantages for a business like this. It is a small footprint, really very walkable streets, very friendly people. With small improvements, especially maybe beautification or tree planting and some design changes, the ideal city for many other businesses to follow.
This is Conrad Avenue, another major business street in Hamtramck. It is very convenient and walkable street. A lot of Bangladeshi businesses on this street. You will find restaurants, a lot of stores, even clean, well priced. That's why people love this street and businesses. And we have Bangladeshi festival every year on the street. The one in 2 square miles.
I'm the proud mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan. Hamtramck is a great city with great moments, great potential. We may be only 2 square miles from the whole world.
My name is Vera Burke. I've lived in Hamtramck my whole life. I'm 91 years old. Through all the many good times and all the many bad times. But I know the good times are coming. It's winter, but I know spring is on its way. I'm looking forward to it and to everything it has to offer.
Every day I come to work, it always amazes me how this place exists. So small and so unique. There are nearly 30 languages spoken at Hamtramck Public Schools. While some people may think it's a hurdle, no, it's a blessing. We are the truth that what unites us is our universal values for love, compassion, and hard work. We all see the opportunity for a better life. We are the American dream. It's our world in our 2 square miles. Come and join us. Come to Hamtramck! The world is 2 square miles.
It was probably the hardest part of that video.
Take 22.
Beautiful.
So hopefully, we've captured the essence of Hamtramck.
Replays automatically.
Yeah. Hopefully, we've captured the essence of Hamtramck. I know there's so much more we could have done, but along with this, we had to supply a narrative. And we worked until about 6 o'clock Friday night so that we could submit it Friday night. So, you know, whether or not we are successful and win the award, I'm proud of our city. I'm proud of those that participated in this, and we're going to go one step further and add to it. So it's an exciting time. So anybody who wants to be a part of the next video, feel free to contact me. We'll get you on the list, and we'll have something that we can be proud of.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that's it for our proclamations, recognitions, and presentations, and we come to additions and deletions to the agenda. There's one item that I'd like a motion to add to the agenda in new business, and that is a resolution appointing our new Community and Economic Development and DDA manager.
Offer.
Support.
Are there any objections?
Opposed.
Then we have, we'll add that as item F. And now we open the floor to public comment.
Item F here. Okay, just a reminder, folks, we have 2 public hearings today, so those don't count as, you can speak at a public hearing as long as you want, you don't have a time limit. So if you're here for one of those issues, I would wait to speak during the public hearing, and then you don't have a little alarm going off, okay? So the first person I have is Carrie Beth.
I'm here to talk about item 7C, the zoning change. This is put up as one of an MEDC requirement for redevelopment-ready communities. And it may be a good fit for some communities, but I don't think this particular regulation is good for ours. First off, simple question. You have very little power. Why would you relinquish part of that, the overseeing of site plans at the end, to the Planning Commission? That's an appointing commission. That means that that's something that people do apply for, and it does go through, and these people who have experience in it, which is good that they review it. But think of how many times we've had issues that have brought up in the council meetings when we're doing that final review. It's been a number of times since I've been here, and I've only been here 6 years and didn't go to council meetings the first 2. So just want to make you consider that what you're actually doing in this particular community, when you change that final review from being council to being put onto the Planning Commission, is you're changing it from something that has a broad, diverse audience to commission. I don't know exactly what the Planning Commission is, but the Zoning Commission is 5 white residents and 2 non-white residents. So you would also be taking it from a broader cross-section of the community and putting it to people who are going to be much more highly educated than a lot of the people who come here. You're also taking it from a process that people are relatively familiar with, bringing it from city council and putting it to a lot of people don't even realize what planning and zoning does, that planning and zoning meets, and if so, when that is and when they can comment. We've had a number of issues that went through planning and zoning, went through multiple rounds, and then come up here and become a much more controversial item. Why? Because people learn about it through that process. They don't get the solution in the process. So I do think that we need to reserve that maybe there are communities in which this is important, but I don't think that this is a good fit for our community to take that final approval when we're going to change what our community looks like, change who's coming in and doing business from being something that is in that planning and zoning and going away from council. I think that you all should reserve your own rights to make that final decision. Thank you.
Come on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm also going to talk about 7C, and I'm opposed it, and I hope you all oppose it, because it takes away the rights of the council, and it wants to take away power from the council to make final decision and puts it onto an appointed body, and which is unfair to the people that elected you to make decisions on their behalf. And some people might be supporting of this idea. That's because maybe in the past council made some decisions that were not very smart, and the council's competency came into question. Here, you are going to make a decision that you are competent enough to see why redevelopment-ready community, you care about the community. And any development, you are not going to slow it down. You are going to study and make the decision what's good for the community, not what's good for one person or so and so. So I hope you oppose it, because it clearly states under proposed zoning ordinance, number 1, remove section which gives city council the final authority on site plan approval. And I don't think it's a good idea at all. So you shouldn't relinquish your authority to an appointed body. Thank you.
Nasser?
Nasser Hussain, also regarding item 7C. I have been through this process twice, and when they tell us you have to go through the council for approval, I'm very happy. I agree with the size of leave. What delays the projects of the council is the planning commission. And I contacted the people in that program, and they said they would prefer two choices. They don't want the council approval, but they prefer that the plans be approved by the building department or the planning commission. I think the best way to proceed to get to that program is to make the approval based on the building department recommendation. They have the zoning codes, they can make sure everything is followed, and if there is an issue in the planning commissions, I think it's mostly the same things repeated in the planning commission. You could just add it to the zoning code and make sure the building department applies these rules to the plan, to the submitted plans. So I argue just remove the planning commission from the whole process. This delays, like for our mosque, it took like a year and a half to approve, all the planning commission. So maybe same thing, all the planning commission, they have to wait a whole month. If one is absent or there's no quorum, another whole month to get their meeting. So the best thing is either to approve it administratively and get the council approval, but do not keep it to the planning commission. Thank you.
Barb Radke?
Hi. I'm not sure I'm in the right spot, but I'm having an issue with a water bill that I received. Said we went through 74,000 gallons of water in a 1-month period, which seems excessive to me. I went to talk to the water department and to Rodney. They did come and change the water meter. They're sending the old one out for testing. But the question I have is, who else can I go to above Rodney to talk to this issue? Because I've been taking pictures of the new meter and it's measuring in cubic feet. When I called the city yesterday to see what their measurement was, they gave me a much higher measurement than what my meter's reading. And they moved the decimal point over to the right when it should have been moved over to the left. And I think that they're using the wrong measurement. They won't listen to me. Can I talk to you afterwards? Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to take up everybody's time.
No, I appreciate you coming though.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mark Korak.
Good evening. Several points. First, I'd like to let everybody know that Ibrahim LJM is having an appeal hearing in the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, March 13th, before Judge Bruce Morrow. That's the prosecutor's appeal of dismissal of the capital felony cases of criminal sexual conduct. His attorney notified me that they already filed a brief. The prosecution has, and his brief is due February 21st. So, actually, it'll be the morning of March 13th before Bruce Morrow, the Wayne State Court Criminal Division judge. The appeal will be heard. Secondly, I was listening to and read partially the audits that were on file as part of the agenda. And one thing I just noticed regarding these, the lack of specificity regarding certain things that I felt were relevant, that were either not covered very well or excluded totally. One is the massive amounts of lawsuits facing the city. Usually an audit, a corporate audit, lists lawsuits and the potential vacancy. I didn't see that. Maybe I missed it in the city's audit. The police audits didn't mention that as well as I could see either. And I know there's several very important federal cases involving the police department. One is an order for Belleville, who has a case pending. And there's some other ones too. Additionally, regarding the organization operation of the police department, there's no specificity. I know through the efforts of myself and some other people, the Cobra unit was disbanded. It's been dissolved. Okay. I don't think that we have actually assigning people to the narcotics section anymore. So, because the revenues are not stopped coming. I've heard that they're not around anymore. They don't assign. Previously, a number of years ago, we had a fellow named Randy Hutchinson, member of that unit from Hamtramck, was convicted in federal court. And there were some lawsuits arising, as you know, out of Cobra and also some other narcotics section. Nothing mentioned the report of the police chief on that. I think it's rather important issue to go over. Other than that, One issue I'd like to bring up also is the environmental issue we need to do more work on. There's talk about toxic waste being dumped in the city, the governor's office doing nothing about it. I know Representative Robinson's doing some stuff about it, but he isn't getting any help, any traction in getting that. So anything you guys can do to help with that issue and try to keep toxic waste out of the city would be appreciated. It's a real big issue for people living in the city. A lot of people are upset over it. And hopefully we're gonna do something about that. Okay, thank you.
Bob Zolak?
Good evening. I'd like to also address the issue on 7C, which is your proposed zoning ordinance updates. I want to remind the council that there's only 7 elected officials we have here, and you sitting here, who is the final and important oversight of all that goes on within the city. I'm concerned that because of this particular ordinance, you are basically relinquishing your oversight to a very important aspect of development in Hamtramck, whether it be commercial, industrial, or residential. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to remove yourself from that process? You know, we've had controversies in the past, and the council has responded to the people that you represented and voiced your opposition to certain developments or certain plans. Now, you have to understand that you've also, I shouldn't say you, but the past council has relinquished, I should say brought in 4 outsourcing people in the 4 departments. Thereby, you know, I'm wondering what kind of reports are you getting from these departments now that are outsourced? I can recall when we had City Manager Chertzog, and I was on the council, we had some very, very significantly detailed and comprehensive reports, monthly reports from these departments. I don't know what you're getting, but it raised some very important issues that I saw at that time, especially the building department, which were doing 30 rental inspections per month. I says, wait a minute, they should be doing 100 rental inspections per month. Now, I don't know what's happening with our current departments. You have a building department that's getting 70% of the revenues, 75% of the revenues from that department. You're the policymakers. You should be thoroughly versed in what's going on in these departments with reports. And if you're not, then we have a continuing problem with transparency and trust in City Hall. And I do want to emphasize trust. If there are secret developments going on, especially when I see things like this, trying to remove you from the process, you know, are we going to look at, you should be analyzing the money trail. Who's benefiting by this? I'll be done. Thank you.
Kit Parks?
Good evening, folks. My name's Kit. I live on Florian Street. I just wanted to give an update on One Hamtramck's project to preserve the Yemeni American mural outside of Shiba restaurant. Last Wednesday, I was present at the Plan Commission meeting along with Ayad, one of the owners of the lot in front of the mural, and the Plan Commission voted in favor of rezoning two lots on Goodson, which are next to the mural. Those adjacent lots are part of our agreement moving forward with the owners of Yemen Cafe to basically secure the lot in front of the mural. in order to preserve it. So just a reminder that this is a process which will involve multiple steps, and probably for the next month or so you'll continue hearing about it. I'm not sure tonight is the first reading. I don't know if you have to actually vote or make a decision on anything, but I do appreciate your patience and support, and it was so nice to see the Yemeni American mural and Bangladeshi American mural in that very cute video. Yeah, so thank you for your support on that. And then I just wanted to say that last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I was out canvassing for a 2020 presidential candidate, and I was surprised by how many folks were still undecided, and also were unaware that the primary is a month away on March 10th. So I'm not sure if there's anything that the city does already to remind folks about that, or if there's anything that can be done, like something sent out in the mail, the water bill, or I'm not really sure what you guys do, but also just as community leaders, if you could make sure to share that information soon and frequently, because it's important that we get folks out. So, thank you.
Thank you.
MB Islam?
Good evening, everyone. I want to request council to oppose the item 7C, because we voted you and we gave you power to lead the community, and you have to keep your power. If the planning commission they delay for anything, you have to improve the planning commission. I came to the city 2 times with the planning commission, with the 2 site plans, and my experience was like they delayed, not to in the council. When we were the council, they approved right away, and we don't want to remove the power of the council. Second thing, I want to thanks Brother Norman who initiated the Salam Peace Park. Very nice for our community. Thank you so much. He don't live in this city, but he initiated one small park for our community, which is very good. Very good news for the community. The last thing, I want to request the city council to get some safety and security knowledge from the city of Detroit. They improve their safety and security. And we are hiring more police people, but we are not putting more resource on the city. We need to think about the city of Detroit. They put at the green light in every corner, and their crime decreases, and our crime is not. The last summertime, there was so many incidents, so many robbed. At a time, in 2-3 days, police went to our mosque and they want to see the camera, because what happened? Jacob Street robbed, Yemen Street robbed, Kashmir Street robbed. That's why we need to think about that. We need to get some, the cameras or the new technology to get the bad people in the judgment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Abu Musa?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm here to express my opinion to one thing, new business number 7C. As an elected official, in my opinion, You have to exercise your rights. And you are the elected official, people directly elected you by their votes. So you should keep your legacy on this ordinance. You should not be take this power away from you. I hope you're going to oppose this ordinance. And secondly, I'd like to remind you and invite you again. Last few years, City of Hamtramck and Hamtramck City Council, they're celebrating International Mother Language Day in front of City Hall. So this year, City Council already approved. They are celebrating International Mother Language Day. So I hope everybody will be there and we enjoy together for International Mother Language Day. Thank you very much for your time.
And the date again, you might.
On Thursday, February 20th, 11 o'clock at night. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
No, thank you. Then we'll move to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are adopted in a single motion without discussion, and they are the approval of the minutes from the January 28th regular city council meeting, the approval of the invoice register for the date ending February 11th, the approval of the pre-approved expenditures for the date ending February 11th, a resolution approving the payment of certain invoices prior to next council meeting, the resolution approving the request for the street closure and sale of alcohol for the St. Florian Strawberry Festival, the resolution approving the request for the street closure for the annual Hamtramck Diversity Festival.
I'll offer.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Next item is the first of our public hearings. The first public hearing is to approve the honorary designation of Comer Avenue as Shevchenko Street.
Make a motion to open public hearing.
Yeah, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay. Any objection? The public hearing is opened at 8:01. Do we have any members of the public to speak on that issue?
Good evening again. I support the initiative because the area of Homer and Conan, between Conan and that in general, area in general, is it's a really nice area and mostly occupied by the Ukrainian community. And I like the inclusiveness in identifying their and recognizing their contributions to the community. And I think it is only right thing to do to rename the street, honorary naming the street.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I support the naming of Shevchenko Street. As the prior speaker mentioned, there is a large or significant Ukrainian community in this area. They've been on for a long time. In fact, I believe the Republican nominee for state senator back in, I think it was 2012, was in fact Ukrainian American. And I think we should honor these people, and this is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Then we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
Any objection? Then our next,
Madam Mayor?
that's it?
You can take the vote on that if you choose to.
Sure. So we have a resolution to then, to approve the honorary designation of Comer Avenue as Shevchenko Street. All those in
Offer.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That resolution passes. And our next public hearing is to approve the name of the Salam Peace Park for the public park located at 2134 Trowbridge. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay. Any objection? Okay. Then the public hearing is opened at 8:03. And do we have some members of the public ready to speak on that? I think we've already heard from people's approval.
Madam.
I'd like to speak on this.
Sure.
Yes, the idea of having the name Salam Peace Park, one of the issues mentioned in the agenda was to give the hearing was to give a public opportunity to either approve this name or suggest alternate names. And I am here to argue that side of it. Earlier, we had a park named Pope Park that created some controversy. Pope Park, because it is identified with a particular religion. Some people, I remember Hillary Cherry, who was a newspaper publisher locally, had objected to it because she felt it violated the First Amendment to have a park named after a religious figure. And there was some controversy over that. Moreover, to name it Pope Park would tend to give the image and impression of the public that this is for people who are Catholic, people who are Polish, so forth, and it conveys, in my opinion, that type of naming, not a good image. Try to avoid it if at all possible. In this case, we have Salam Peace Park. Salam meaning peace in Arabic. Also, anybody who's Muslim who's familiar with the religion, Salam would identify that as meaning peace, okay? Nothing really wrong with Salam or peace, it's an English word for peace. However, I think to be more inclusive, and I ask people in the community, I said, what do you feel about Salam Peace Park? There's going to identify an image that's going to send an impression. It's for people who are Muslim, because it's got the name Salam in it, which is a central theme throughout Islam. And they felt that, why don't you have another name to it? So I asked, well, whether peace? So why don't we use the Polish word for peace? Spokoj, they told me, okay? It means calmness, tranquility, or peace in the Polish language. If we have Salam Spokoj Peace Park, then that tends to be more inclusive, tends to encompass more members of the community. So I thought Salam Spokoj Peace Park is a better name than simply Salam Peace Park. And it tends to be a welcoming name for more people in the community. So that's why I felt, and we would tend to avoid the criticism last time having Pope Park, be more inclusive. So that's how I feel about Salam Peace Park. Let's make it more inclusive for all members of the community. I don't even know if I said that, Spokoj, if it means, I don't know, maybe some people know it here, I don't know, but I think it's a better idea. It's more inclusive, and it tends to convey an image of inclusiveness. So that's how I feel. Thank you.
So anyone else?
Yeah, let's add that too.
Just, it's kind of redundant saying Salam Peace Park, because when you translate it as Peace Park, just make it Peace Park and that's okay, just my opinion.
I want to add something. Very little. Like, sometimes non-Muslim people, even they say we say walaikum. Because they know this is the greeting word. This is not
this way, please.
This is the greeting word, right? That's why we greet each other. Assalamu alaikum, salam, peace be upon you, like this. The Peace Park is good. Salam means peace. Peace Park is good. I think like Peace Park is good.
Anyone else?
So, the previous speaker spoke, the Salam Peace Park is redundant, Salam and peace. So, I think Peace Park sounds good. It's not religious. Peace is, anybody can have peace, live in peace. So, thank you.
That's true.
Anyone else giving this a second and third thought?
Can we open up for discussion?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yes, please.
Please.
Just a question, I wanted to just make sure that the names of the people who thought it was a good idea to begin with are in the record.
They were put in the record before.
Yes.
Anybody else? Then, first we'll close the public hearing.
Could you, if we can ask another question.
Oh,
The people that initially.
We should do that.
During discussion?
Yeah, during the
Okay, sure.
discussion, yeah. So do we have a motion to close the public heering?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Any objection? The public hearing is closed at 8:08, and we now will entertain a motion to approve the name of Salam Peace Park for the public park.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, now discussion.
Awesome. I just wanted to add my insight. So obviously, in regards to the redundancy of it, Peace Park, you said the individuals that initially proposed the name, obviously, so that they receive credit for it. But why did they come up with the name Salam Peace Park? Was it because there was already a Pope Park? Was it already because, I mean,
Basically, there was a couple people that were kind of spearheading this, me and some of the neighbors, and I
Yes.
asked the neighbor that I'm working with most closely to try to get a sense from the neighbors that he is working with in that, like, I don't live here, so I
Yes.
didn't do that outreach. He did it with me, so as far as why that name came up, I think we didn't want to name it after somebody. We
Okay.
didn't want to, we wanted to promote, this idea, and I think part of the idea was to, yes, there's a lot in Hamtramck named after, the world in square, 2 square miles. Maybe there's not a lot necessarily named after, something of Arabic heritage, for instance.
that's very fair. Okay. So, I mean, I guess to add my insight, initially when we spoke about how, just because Pope Park, I remember my mom walking me through Pope Park when I was 8 years old, right? It didn't matter if we practiced Roman Catholicism or Islam or Christianity. At the end of the day, the park is open to everybody and anyone in the community. So, I mean, for the people that initially spearheaded this, I mean, in respect to them, also in respect to being able to, when somebody says to have something that's more D&I or diverse and inclusive, it's to be able to first identify, right? When people say, I don't see color, I'm not racist, but if you don't identify that there is a color or there is, if there is a color, there is a religion, or there is a heritage that exists, then technically you are being non-inclusive. So for it to be named Salam Peace Park, I'm not opposed to it at all, and it only makes sense. This city, we take pride in who we are, where we come from, what we practice, what our heritage is and our ethnicities as well. So I'm not against it.
Madam Chair,
Councilman?
I agree with the council members. We discussed that one previous council meeting, and we are encouraging the people who has the other lot empties. After this, maybe they're gonna give to the city also under the name. Salam is the name, is the peace. There is no religious significant I see around here. Pope Park, I go there all the time. No issue for me. So why other people cannot, who thinking is the religious, cannot go there, is the same manner like me, no problem. It is the park is park. It is the park is park, no matter what is the park. I spend little time with the family and mental free. That is the park. That's what gentleman given to us, and he will be, his family will be really appreciate. And from there, some other people gonna learn. Okay, he did that one, and I put something else too. And also, he feel good himself. I did something, and city council recognize me also. And I'm gonna put some more money over there to help and get some other things to done. So again, mental free. We have to take the mental as a diverse, completely out from the religious for the name or this. Is the park, I go there as a park. And I will appreciate, that's all. And I'm supporting this name, Salam Peace Park. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman?
I just want to thank you for your generosity to the city. I don't have any problem with the name. What I do have a problem with is adults in this community or adults who want to come to meetings and create an issue. I know Mr. Corey mentioned that there was this issue with Pope Park and naming it Pope Park. It was to signify a historical event in the city of Hamtramck. So, I mean, we're drumming up issues that don't really exist or don't exist in the everyday life of most of us. So, I wish people would stop doing that. Again, I mentioned this before, 2134 Trowbridge. My family lived at that house when there was a house there, so it's significant, and I look forward to going there and having peace and taking a moment for reflection, once a week maybe. So I appreciate it again. I think the name, there's nothing wrong with the name.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman?
Good evening, folks. As Councilman Marsumi and
Councilman Hassan and Councilwoman Krapnowski said, Salam means peace, and it just exists in our community. And I'd like to thank you for your generosity in the park. It's gonna stand out, but it's everyone's welcome there. So I wouldn't oppose that name changed there. You know, if it's Salam Peace, it's peace. It's a Salam Peace Park. It sounds right. It really does, and it's gonna stand out for the community. So I mean, it's great to have something like that. Thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Madam Mayor.
Councilman?
Okay, so is it Salam Peace Park, or did we initially call it Salam Park and then somehow the peace got put in? So it's Salam Peace Park? Okay, I would actually tend to agree that Salam Peace Park is kind of redundant and Salam Park would sound a little bit better. But I think that the legal analysis offered by Mr. Corey was incorrect, and that Salam would not be crossing any separation of church or state boundaries. So I don't have any issue with that. I actually think it would be a bunt if we just called it Peace Park instead of taking the opportunity to call it Salam Park, because we need to highlight our diversity, and calling it Salam Park rather than just Peace Park would be a way to do that.
Thank you.
I probably won't need to vote on this, but I'll chime in as well. I also prefer the name Salam Peace Park. And I think it's a teaching moment, right? We're talking about a language, not necessarily a religion. And that if we've all just learned that Salam means peace from that name of the park, that's a good lesson for everybody.
Yes.
So the name sounds good to me. So we've got a resolution approving the name Salam Peace Park for the public park located at 2134 Trowbridge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. All right, on to new business.
Thank you.
Thank you for donating.
Thank you very much. On to new business. First item is a resolution approving the acceptance of the America in Bloom I've got too many. CN Eco Connections from the Ground Up Grant.
I'll offer.
Second.
Discussion? And do we have some information?
I'll give a quick overview,
Please.
Madam Mayor. We have been seriously focused on looking for grants to bring trees to our community. We know that many years ago, a tornado removed a lot of trees from the community. We know that trees improve the state equalized value of our properties. They bring shade, they bring a home for birds. And when walking around our walkable community on a hot summer day, when you walk underneath a tree, you feel 10 degrees cooler. And so we have been seriously looking for tree grants to use. You know that about a year ago, we did the tree survey. So this grant for $21,200, we will plant in the areas that the tree survey indicates by brands of trees or types of trees that are good for the planting in the area between the sidewalk and the curb. We do, as a part of this, have to join the American Bloom National Awards Program at a cost of $1,199, and that's based on the size of our city. But we have that in the budget, and so this would be an excellent opportunity to have some volunteer planting in the city. And we've already reached out to Greening, and they will help us with citizen foresters, as well as I know we have a lot of community members who are interested as well.
So the grant is for the trees themselves, and then we're responsible for...
Trees and mulch is what we put in there for, and then we will do the planting. And then, yes, absolutely, we are buying things with that money, and we will have volunteer planting.
Madam Mayor?
Councilwoman?
Is the membership fee yearly, or is it just
It's
a one-time?
Okay, one time.
Is there any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman?
it's not the shadow thing also, is the tree will take your carbon dioxide and give you the oxygen.
Correct.
So that's the great thing you're doing.
It's good for...
1100 nothing.
Thank you for mentioning that.
And this is a national program, right? So we
That's right.
competed nationally.
We will, and you know, if we were to win, I know that somebody.
Oh, wait, so there's,
There is a awards competition
Mhm.
that you have to participate in if you're a grantee. And so if we were to win that award, someone would have to go to St. Louis to accept the award. I'm sure we'd have a lot of volunteers that would want to do that.
I lived in St. Louis and it's a wonderful city. Any discussion, any further discussion? Then we have a resolution approving the acceptance of America in Bloom, Eco Connections from the Ground Up grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes, all right. Next item is the first reading of the resolution approving the rezoning of 2930 and 2936 Goodson from residential to central
I'll offer.
business district.
Offer second.
Okay, and remember that this,
Fidel.
She also.
okay, and remember that this is just the first reading. We'll be setting a date for the public hearing, probably the next council meeting, and the real discussion, opportunities for discussion will happen there. So we have a first reading of the resolution approving the rezoning of 2930 and 2936 Goodson from residential to central business district. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the first reading, I assume, will be set.
The second reading will be
Or
March
second, I'm sorry.
3rd, at our next city council meeting. And we'll publicize that because it'll be a public hearing.
Okay, and this is in connection to the
Yemeni mural.
Yemeni mural.
Correct.
The next item is the first reading for the resolution approving the amendments to the zoning ordinance.
I'll offer.
I'll support.
And again, remember that the opportunities for discussion will happen at the next council meeting after the public hearing.
So no comments now?
You can still talk about it now, sure.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman?
So I wanted to just shed some light on the proposed zoning ordinance updates with you guys. It says for one, to add to all the insights that was provided today by community members, removing section 3, 4.06.8, which gives city council the final authority on site plan approval, amend article 12 where necessary to remove references to council's final approval and establish the plan commission as a body which approves or denies site plans. Just something that's very important, like from my insight, we as a council, right, we deserve the right to make final decisions on site plan approval, which ultimately is a decision of the community because they elected us into office. I, for one, refuse to relinquish my ability to be able to make final decisions on site plans or any form of development for that matter. And that's just my take on this, so.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman and then
Sorry.
Councilwoman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so a discussion here. I was thinking why this is already came here to the council meeting. Is any reason or anything, and if council members not properly approving any other decision zoning ordinance? So that is my question myself. Second, if I as a elected official, if I take my right myself off from the council or any paper or any document, and I don't feel it's my self-suicide. As I don't feel is the good thing to do it. No matter what, they have to do ordinance, review everything. And again, couple of people already complained about the planning commission. It's not the personal complaint, is the timing, quorum, all other things. So anything get approval and people elect us. I have a lot of phone call for this. It still has to come through the city council and they approve and final approval. That's the way I feel. That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it will be. Thank you.
That's the way your vote will be.
That's the way I'm saying.
Councilwoman?
I know that in our notes, it says that this is necessary for redevelopment ready. I mean, if we omit that, then redevelopment ready is dead, or what?
So the recommendation for redevelopment ready and a requirement is having this component. It said that the choices are that you could do it administratively and not include the plan commission for site plan review, or that you could use the plan commission not as a recommending body but as a final body. I will, in anticipation of the public hearing, go back to the redevelopment ready through the MEDC and say, do we forfeit that designation based on this one component? I do not know the answer to that, Councilwoman, but I will get that answer for the hearing. The other thing that I did want to mention, does that satisfy your
Yep.
answer? Councilman asked why, and that is the reason why this is an agenda item. Some time ago, mayor and council voted to make our city redevelopment ready. And what that means, in having that certification, is that we meet a certain level of criteria to make it business-friendly, residential-friendly, and redevelopment ready for the vacant properties that we have or rehabilitating those.
This is a
to
statewide
attract-
program.
It's a statewide program by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Many other communities have already achieved this status. We're not the pioneers. We're kind of the caboose on the end of the train for doing this. But what I will say is I will examine that and speak to the officials we're working with and see if we would disqualify ourselves by this one component. I do not know the answer to that. Additionally, if we were to find that that was allowable, that we could still proceed on the path, because we aren't getting to the end of that. You know that we've been bringing things regularly to mayor and council over the last year. If they were to say, yes, we would still award you that designation, I want you to look at that this zoning ordinance update is more than just that. There are 3 other components to that. So the other thing that we can do at any time when we pass a resolution is amend the resolution as well. So I wouldn't want to throw out all 4 components of that if you disagree with one of them. If you'd like, we can vote on them individually, and then, but beforehand, I would ask that you would allow me to give that update. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman?
I just wanted to also reiterate that, from my understanding, we do need to pass this to be qualified as a redevelopment-ready city. We've been working towards being a redevelopment-ready city for probably the better part of a year, maybe a year and a half. And for us to disqualify ourselves from becoming redevelopment-ready certified based on something arbitrary like this, when all other cities have had not have any issues in doing this, would just kind of, I don't know, just kind of reek of incompetence, I think. I think we need to keep in mind that when a business comes to open up in Hamtramck, as long as they meet certain requirements with code, with like the occupancy permit and zoning, a couple other things, we really should not be voting on whether or not one business can come here and another business can't. We should be encouraging all businesses to open up shop in Hamtramck, and we should not be micromanaging our economic development. I think that is the furthest thing from our job and responsibility, and I think that we have a responsibility to know when we should be delegating our duties to other bodies, and this is one of those times when I think it's appropriate for that to happen. Thank you.
As a member of the Plan Commission, I'd like to just say a few words about that as well. The purpose of redevelopment ready is to streamline the process, to make it possible for a business to come in, and not just any business, because the Planning Commission isn't looking at every business that comes into the city. All they're looking at are times when there may be an issue with the particular zoning ordinance for that business, or if there are significant changes to the property itself. So those are things that we don't necessarily have the competence to and the expertise to look at. Do you read building plans? You know, that's not our job. That's the job of people of the Planning Commission and of the administrative staff. And they cooperate in that process through the planning oversight. So once you add another component in there, then you're adding another 2 weeks, potentially more, to the process. So that's, I think, what Redevelopment Ready is concerned about, that they want to make this happen as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. when folks have run into problems with Plan Commission and they've had to come back, it's been because their plans haven't met the criteria that the city requires. So they have to redo it or make some changes and come back again. That is not something that's going to presumably change, right? If it comes before you guys, are you gonna know that they didn't meet the criteria? That's the Plan Commission and the administration's job to figure out. So, and, you know, so I don't know that, so adding that, well, or keeping the component of bringing it back to council adds more time to the process, which is why Redevelopment Ready program wants us to not add that extra 2 weeks or extra month or whatever. If they don't meet the criteria, that's not gonna change, whether we approve it or whether the Plan Commission approves it. So anyway, it's just another kind of step that Redevelopment Ready wants to take out of the process, to make not to make things harder, but to make things easier for the developer.
And also, if we are not redevelopment ready, we're not gonna be qualified for a number of programs that are available to cities. So we would really be limiting ourselves by not passing this resolution.
Yeah, the Redevelopment Ready is meant to be, to make a city more business friendly.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman?
May I thank you. Okay, so there is the couple of things I understand your discussion. Mayor Pro Tem also mentioned one thing, we not individually don't have right to approve or not approve. Previous practice and previous mistake we learned from Josso Campo. We had the one business, we approve it, and the people get killed inside the business, and we have to force them to again take off the business certificate. So there is some planning, some other thing we do for good thing, but it comes to bad things sometimes. I understand that one. That's the way sometimes we all have to have the council to approve it. That's why I'm supporting. Other thing, if we have to do that, we don't have to wait for 2 weeks. We have to do the within 2 days, 48 hours or 72 hours, call the another council meeting, a special meeting, and we'll approve right away over there. So if it's possible, I'm not going to do all of them, of course. Number one, can we modify number one? That's kinds of discussion I'm talking. If the section 4.0608, you guys requesting try to take that off, I can take that line off completely. Still give the permission to the planning commission to bring it, and a special council meeting we're going to approve it. So that kinds of thing we are here. You guys saying, everybody saying 2 miles. So yeah, 2 miles in the world, we are here. Call the meeting and I come here, I will approve it. So still I don't want to, nothing personal, don't want to give up my right. That's all my discussion. Again, I'm flexible, I can verify, I can modify, I can do anything we can do. I still don't want to give my right.
Okay, I want to address one aspect of what Councilman just said, and that refers to the bar on Joseph Campo that ended up being closed down. That was not, although the decision to close it came to council, the decision to open it did not. As I said, Plan Commission does not review the opening of every single business. It's only when there's a question of whether it complies with the existing zoning ordinance or whether there's a significant change to the building itself that it comes before council. So you never would have had the opportunity to approve or disapprove the opening of that business to begin with. And you didn't, and council didn't. That's not what council does.
Madam Mayor, I actually think that the kind of oversight that is being advocated for is a dangerous area for us to be getting into, as we could be like running afoul of somebody's constitutional rights And we don't want to be, like, we don't want to even be anywhere close to saying this business can open and this business can't open by just our opinions. It needs to be, we have rules, we have regulations, we have zoning, we have planning, and everything is laid out in black and white, what can and can't be done. By law. And if, as long as we're following as long as what's laid out in our ordinances and our regulations is followed, we need to let these businesses open and operate, and we don't have any say whether they can or can't. And if we do say whether they can or can't, we are seriously opening ourselves up to potentially having a lawsuit filed against us for targeting enforcement. So we just need to be considering some of these things rather than just looking at it like we're giving up our right, which we don't really even have, in the sense that I think it's being advocated for.
Okay, so.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman.
could I just, okay, so, as the council members and Madam Mayor spoke about it, and I just picked a few words, and what I don't understand, the zoning, it was always approved by the city council members. And why now that has to be removed to planning commissions to develop any certain areas? I think, we should keep our council members' rights to make decisions on rezoning board or the approval of the final zoning commissions. I'm new, so just gonna learn more and try to emphasize as best as I can to improve our city's ordinance. But for now, it sounds like that I don't think I should give up, relinquish my rights, So, thank you.
All right, so we have a first reading of the resolution approving the amendments to the zoning ordinance and setting the date of the public hearing for March 3rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose.
Yeah.
Please do a roll call.
Okay. Councilwoman Karpinski.
Approve.
Councilman Amar Sumi.
Oppose.
Councilman Chowdhury.
Oppose.
Councilman Al Samiri.
Oppose.
Councilman Hassan.
Oppose.
Councilman Parada.
Yes.
Motion fails.
So what this means, like, you guys, this is completely irresponsible. This is a relinquishing of your responsibility and your duties as city council people. This is the first step in a process. There is plenty of opportunity. The first reading is simply saying, okay, this is what we're gonna talk about, this is what we're gonna consider, and we will come up with a final version. The final version may have little to do with the version, with this first reading version that you see in front of you. It's your responsibility to take that, consider it, open it up to the public in a public hearing, continue to discuss and craft a final version. You've just relinquished that responsibility. Now, the second thing is, we don't know whether that cuts us off from a statewide program that brings us money, that brings us leverage as open and friendly to new business. We've just said, no, we are not. Every other item in that those proposed zoning changes, you've just closed the door on those as well. I think this is irresponsible. It's a relinquishing of your duty, and I think it's a caving to some business interests that have cornered you. We'll move on. The next item is a resolution allowing residential property owners to file letters of appeal to the Board of Review.
I'll offer.
Is there a second?
I thought I assumed one of them was second.
Any discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Next item is a resolution approving alternate meeting dates for the March and July and December boards of review.
Offer.
A second.
Any discussion?
Do we just want to say what dates they are?
I'll have to look them up.
Whoops. I was thinking we could just say what dates they are, just for the public record.
This is that we would have alternate dates.
Yeah, do we, okay, we don't have, so we don't have them, them set,
No,
okay, I
there are
can,
certain
yeah.
dates,
So
it's-
that-
if there's
That's fine,
overflow,
yeah.
we can move the dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the last item that we added is a resolution approving the appointment of Alexander Siri as the Community and Economic Development and DDA Manager.
I'll offer.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Do you want to say something about?
I would have our HR director, Samantha Samuels, come up and give you an overview of the process and the items that you have to fill out.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to come up and talk about the process a little bit. I interviewed as well as DDA Chairperson Nicholas Zimborski and City Manager Angerer. I think we interviewed about 6 total. We started off with more than that with phone interviews with myself and Casey Kopp and Grace Stamper. And we settled down with Alexander Asiri. And I'm just bringing him forth to get approval to hire him in.
Madam Mayor, can I make a few comments? Sure. Thank you. So this process, we did a statewide, we published in the Michigan Municipal League, and as well as Indeed.com advertising for this job. So it was essentially a statewide search for a candidate. We had several applications of qualified individuals, and we just continued to narrow that down. When the applications came in, we had 2 members of the DDA board come in and review those and select individuals for the phone interview, along with, and I also looked at those along with Samantha. So we pooled our decision about who to interview, and then we had a team of 3 people do the phone interviews. And then that was narrowed to 6 people to come in and be interviewed face-to-face. The reason that we involved the DDA is that we had gone to the DDA some time ago and asked for their support in hiring not a community and economic development director, but a community and economic development and downtown development authority manager, so that we would be looking at a person that not only looked at the entire city economic development, but had about 20% of their time spent on the DDA district. The DDA agreed to pay 20% of that salary in order to do that, up to $20,000. And so this not only was, this appointment was not only favored by those, all that interviewed, Samantha Sanders, myself, and Vince Zimborski, and now we're bringing that to you for approval. Now we're not able to put this on as an agenda item because we did not have a written acceptance from this candidate to accept the offer until late yesterday. And that's why I sent this to all of you as early as I could today, so that you'd have some time. I don't like to put things on at the last minute, only do it when we have to, but we've been trying to do this hire for several months now, and I'd like to get him on board as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any other?
Madam Mayor, I do have a question. What was the salary that was advertised for this position? Like, what was the range?
53.
We don't advertise a range of salary. We discussed that with the candidate at the time.
Okay.
Commensurate with experience.
Yeah, exactly. And this salary is commensurate, and I will tell you that we will come back at times and talk with you budget years about salary increases for any of our employees. But this is a good starting salary for this individual.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I was asking that is I actually am not too confident in this choice, and I've got reasons for that. When I looked at this candidate's resume, he did not appear to have very much experience. He only seemed to have gotten he seemed to be in an unrelated field for the last, for the years prior to, I think, 2017.
Is it relevant?
Pardon?
Is-
Well, so the issue I have is I think that economic development is a huge and very important aspect of the city. And I think, as former Councilman Zwolak has mentioned several times when he's been up, we have neglected economic development sorely, and it shows. There's tons of development all around Hamtramck. There's development in Hamtramck, but it's really not where it should be. And I am concerned that we are going to be bringing in an individual who is not really connected or tied to this area. Is going to take a good couple months to get on board, understand the dynamic, the intricacies, the nuances of Hamtramck, and I really think that I think that we got it backwards when we created a position and paid a salary of $85,000 for a job that did not exist, when we have a job that does exist that we should be paying $85,000 for, so we can hire a top tier quality candidate rather than somebody who is more in the beginning of their career. We want somebody that is, I think, cresting, has the connections, knows the people, can show what they've done, and is ready to just take this and knock it out of the park. And I don't know much about this other candidate other than he doesn't have much of a track record and does not appear to be very well connected to this area. And I think for economic development, we really need somebody. Somebody like August Gischlag would be like a good candidate because he's been in the area for 10 years. And, I'm not saying August should be it, but somebody that's got the connections, that knows who, that just is part of this community and can do something with their knowledge of it right off the bat rather than onboarding for however long and then only understanding that narrow slice of the community that they are exposed to in their first few months. I say that from my experience as coming from a different area and coming here and only seeing just like what I'm exposed to in that very little time. And that frames your mentality. And I think that it's a big oversight to not have somebody from this area with commensurate experience. Even if it costs $80,000 a year to find that person, we should extend our search.
Madam Chair.
Councilman?
Resume is very perfect for me. I understand not too many experience. Smart people can catch within 2-3 months if somebody have from heart to help the city do his job. In no way we have a issue and problem. I think $53,000 is not the money, right now. I'm really surprised he accept the job for this money. So he took the challenge, and I appreciate. And maybe he can do better than $85,000 job, who was the job time during the office time, go the Bailey Isle and Facebook with the friend. It's going to be better than maybe that. That's why I feel the guy took the challenge, and we can. There is lots of experienced people we have, and our manager also did a very good job previously while she was doing some part of the job, so she can train the gentleman. So I hope for me, I feel very good. The guy, we're gonna give him chance to do the job.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman?
And I apologize for cutting you off, Mayor Pro Tem Parada. My thing was that what I was asking is, when I said relevant, I was referring to their work experience, right? So I see right here, if we're talking about diverse experience, they have over 5 years of developmental experience, being in St. Ignace, Nicaragua, and also in Kalamazoo. I mean, it's not like somebody that, just as to yourself, right? When you came to Hamtramck, it was probably a little bit of a shock to you initially to see what kind of city this was and the people that that make up the city. This person here has been to multiple cities. They've also been to, it seems like, a couple countries, right? And with that being said, I mean, I see it as giving them an opportunity. I know that we need somebody that's going to be able to hit the ground running, but I'll tell you this, a lot of people that do come to Hamtramck ultimately have to hit the ground running anyways. Because otherwise, if they're not going to be able to do the job accordingly, we'll be able to find out within a month or two, right? It's not going to take like 3-4 years before we say, you know what, this is a bad choice. We should shift in another direction. But if this person has this much extensive experience that is actually applicable and also relevant, we might as well give them an opportunity. And with the salary that I just heard, I mean, it's not like, I mean, you're recruiting from top-tier talent, right? Top-tier talent usually doesn't always, I mean, they select the people that they go for. It's not just about going to a company and see what they provide for you, but what you provide for them. This person could probably help us out significantly. That's my take.
Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman?
I appreciate the fact that we have a resume and some background information, not like the $85,000 position that we just hired because we knew who he was. So this is what I would like to see every time we're gonna hire somebody. This is how it should be done. I agree that, we probably could find somebody with more experience if we were willing to pay more, especially adding the position DDA manager. I'm gonna hope that Mr. Siri proves us wrong and he does an amazing job and sticks around. And I do agree with Councilman Parada, that he may not have a whole lot of experience in this area of Michigan. But I don't know, maybe, I'm just hoping he'll prove us wrong. But I do agree that, we could probably find a better candidate, or a more experienced, I'm sorry, not better, but more experienced candidate if we offered more money. But this is what's handed to us, so.
Is there any other?
Madam Mayor?
Go ahead.
Well, they went through statewide, and out of the numerous candidates, and you picked out one, I'm sure he would be the right one, and I hope he proves us wrong. So, and that he does well, here, he fits in. So that's
Yeah.
Andrew.
I have a few things to say about this as well. I was surprised that we found someone at this low a salary, and I was not part of the vetting process, so I know the folks who did, and I trust their judgment. So I know that you went through numerous candidates, and this was the person that you ended up with. So I've got to trust that process. You guys are professionals at this, and I trust Vince Shiborsky as well. So in the past, we've had people in this position who are also quite inexperienced, or just coming out, in their professions, who have gone on to great things. So, I also, I shared the concerns initially that, like, not very much money, and, young and not a kind of big portfolio of experience. But I trust the people making this decision. And I also know that for someone just kind of at the, not the very beginning of their career, but earlier in their career, this can be an incredible opportunity for someone young with energy who wants to come here and make a difference. So, he left, or leaving a resort area and coming down here, there must be a good reason, and he must see something, and I'm sure that you uncovered that in your discussions with him. He must see something here that excites him and challenges him, and that's what we'll be looking for. I'm sure everybody, whatever our feelings are about this particular hire, that's what we're gonna be looking for, is that excitement and experience, and being ready to hit the ground running, and being happy to be here.
Madam Mayor, you said it in a nutshell. What came through in the interview was a person who has the energy for this community, understands diversity. We're bringing you a candidate that's gonna walk right in and be able to do this job. We're building a team in that department, and I think you've already seen we've made good selections with the two people that he will be leading in that department. And I think that you're gonna see some tremendous things over the next year and years to come.
Maybe give him lunch also every day.
Yeah, we end up losing people too, once they cut their teeth on the hard part in Hamtramck.
We have plenty for him to do.
Okay. So we have a resolution approving the appointment of Alexander I. Siri as Community and Economic Development and DDA Manager. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
The resolution passes.
And Samantha, I'm sorry that we didn't move this to the beginning. Since you have your daughter here.
More apologies to your daughter.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Sometimes you have to
All
forget to.
It's all right.
We've had a long meeting, so that takes us out of new business, and we've had a long meeting, so I will forego my report such as it is today, and I'll see you all at International Mother Language Day and at Punchki Day.
Madam Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yep. I don't really have much. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Punchki Run and also International Mother Language Day. You gonna bring the monument?
Yes.
What's it called? Shah Molinar or how do? What's the? Yeah, I'm butchering it. I like how there was like 3 of them last time, so I'm looking forward to seeing who's got the best replication.
Yeah. Councilman, go ahead.
So speaking about proactive approaches, Superintendent Jalil Ahmed reached out to me, asking me if we're going to be doing another iftar or Eid iftar together. And she said if it's possible, maybe we can do something where it's combined with HPS and City Council. That would be awesome. We can plan together. I still haven't, I just wanted to find out initially. And just make sure everybody stays safe out there with Michigan's weather. We don't know if we're going to need shorts or jackets tomorrow. So.
Madam Mayor, I'm looking forward to the Fisky Day and International Mother Language Day on the 20th of February. It's at 11 p.m. Start at 11 p.m. until midnight. And also, Councilman Marsumi said that the superintendent and other community member reached out to me in regards to the iftar, Ramadan during this whole year planning, and when are we going to have one or not this year? So, looking forward to see if there's one coming up.
Remember that the last time we did that, it was a voluntary event, and we didn't use any city resources for it, so we will continue in that fashion.
Okay.
But it was so well received last time that I would love to do it again, so I'll reach out to the superintendent as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, that.
Madam Mayor?
Please, jump in.
Thank you. I forgot to say one thing. On the Allen Brothers bill today, there were charges for the Yemeni mural. They are in kind in donating that, so that will be deducted from the check that we send to them. I wanted to inform you. They're continuing to do work on that project, all the items for that as a gift to the city. I also spoke to Superintendent Ahmed today. 2 things. I sent you the information about the May election, and I have invited her to come with the team from Hamtramck Public Schools to give an overview of the bond issue that they're going to have on the ballot in May. So they'll be coming to a future council meeting to give an overview of that. Additionally, the state of the district for Hamtramck Public Schools will be on February 20th at 4 p.m. at the community center. That's something, if you want to learn about what's going on in the public schools, it's an excellent meeting to attend as an elected official, as a community member, whether your children, you have children or not, whether they go to Hamtramck Public Schools or not, you learn about the school and you learn where your tax dollars are being spent. One thing we do want is a strong public school in our community, because it's good to have well-educated children graduate from there and go on to great things in their lives. And so take time to attend that. 4 p.m. on February 20th, we're all invited. Today we swore in a new police officer, Jonathan Doherty, who will be starting his first shift tomorrow. He went to training at the gun range today, as well as filled out all of his paperwork and did all of his employment events, but his family was here in council chambers. Council members, I gave you a flyer that explains our assessing department. That is going to be mailed with our utility bill this month. So everyone's going to receive this, but I wanted to give you an extra copy so you take time to read and understand how our state equalized value, our equalization timetable, what March border review is, et cetera. That's a piece of information for you to sit with a cup of tea later tonight and have a chance to read in your favorite chair. Lastly, we do have the March 10th primary. You can get your ballot now, you can vote now, or you can wait and watch some of the other state primaries to see who remains on the ballot in March. The music festival, we have Punchki Day, countdown to Punchki Day on the corner of Holbrook and Joseph Campo. There'll be a tent. All of you, please turn in your forms tonight to me. That'll be on February 22nd, so it's a community run 5K. We close down streets about 9 a.m. and they reopen shortly after 11. It's about a 2-hour time frame that it's a little hard to get around Hamtramck.
Very hard to get around.
So we have about 2,000 runners that come, which we enjoy because they shop in our stores, they eat in our restaurants, and they enjoy our communities. So we want to roll out the red carpet and welcome them. And then Punchki Day is the following Tuesday on February 25th. City Hall will be closed for President's Day on February 17th. That's next 1 week, less than 1 week from today on a Monday. So City Hall will be closed on that day, February 17th, and we will post that at City Hall and on Facebook. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Then we open the floor again to public comment.
Mr. Islam still here?
No, no.
He left. Mr. Zwolak, Bob Zwolak.
Oh, which one is Bob John?
I have to absolutely agree with Councilman Parada with respect to his comments, with this one exception. The city has not had an economic development. You heard my comments about the city being a police academy, fire academy, and city municipal employee academy. And I hope we're not becoming economic development director training also institution here. Excuse me, but you know, one of the things I'm gonna really strongly recommend, tomorrow night there's a DDA meeting. If I'm not correct, the DDA meeting tomorrow night?
No.
No? Next Wednesday. I would really recommend you participate more frequently in their monthly meetings, in terms of what they've been doing. You know, I've complained about the fact that the DDA has had $150,000 in their kitty and has not been spending it to promote the DDA. And it really is your responsibility to engage in marketing Hamtramck. We don't market Hamtramck, period, outside of Hamtramck. We have so much diversity, and that's a problem we have even with our businesses. We have 2 Chamber of Commerces in Hamtramck, Bengali and Yemenis. We don't have room for a Hamtramck Chamber of Commerce because of the fact we have the other Chamber of Commerces. But we do have the DDA, which should be the umbrella for all the business organizations. And I would recommend also getting some of the representatives from that group to be on the DDA, because you really don't have a diverse DDA. Now, it is part of your responsibility to stay on top of these new directors. And I would also make a strong recommendation, you really consider raising the pay of this new director in economic development. It's going to take a year for this guy to get up to speed. There's no 2 ways about it. And thankfully, our new council people, both Mr. Councilman Naeem and also Councilman Murray, that you're a businessman, and you know have already gone through the gauntlet of the planning department, what you've had to pay for your building, and I know you're still in the process. And you, Mr. Naeem, Councilman, you're also very active and strong. So we have 2 people who I would hope be more aggressive in marketing Hamtramck and looking out for the business community, both commercial, industrial. So Anyway, you made a wise choice today in sticking with being oversight and all that goes on in the city of Hamtramck. Thank you again.
Call every day DDA director.
Mark Corey. Regarding the Downtown Development Authority, the Downtown Development Act was signed by Governor Milk in 1975. It was a very well-defined law that established not only downtown development authorities for various jurisdictions, we could opt into it. Also, there's a second body, which we have not implemented here, which is optional, which is the Downtown Development Authority Advisory Council, a basic assistance council that gives recommendations, acts on behalf of the public, has representatives, advise the DDA how to do its business, and basically acts as the voice of the public and makes sure the DDA does its job. That has not been implemented here. There is no such thing as such a committee as they have for instance Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's had one for over 30 years. They've done that. In fact, the same guy who was running since the early 1980s is still there today. And you guys don't have it here. Additionally, one other issue with the Downtown Development Authority, look at the act, look at the state law that created enabling legislation, and look at the books of the DDA and why there's money that's not being spent. And it's a big issue in Ann Arbor. They developed their downtown immensely, and the businesses benefit by it. Having a DDA purchase things, for instance, like parking lots, parking structures, parking shelters, that type of stuff. You don't have that here. We need to have that type of development. Additionally, one of the issues I've heard, and I haven't looked at this, but that the downtown authorities contiguous to the area around Joseph Campo, and that basically discriminates against people out in the area of Conant, in that area, where Bageltown is. So they don't benefit from it. I know you've got a business out there. So it is important. Why don't we have that type of situation? The money should be evenly distributed to benefit. We don't do it here. Downtown development is something that's sorely needed, all this empty space you see out there. And what about the issue of sign ordinance enforcement, all other stuff? I mean, we gotta look at this. We gotta help the people that are small businesses, let them go under, they come in, they leave. That's what we need here. Additionally, one other item I'd like to mention is the fact of what we have here in the city. There was some mention of the elections coming up. Make sure you should try to promote among your community people to go out and register to vote and also to vote. Last election we had here, as far as the precinct delegates, which are important in establishing the party nominations, establishing the groundwork of both Republican and Democratic Party. Last election we had 21 people file as Republicans in this area. It was unprecedented. We have 5 Democrats sit as precinct delegates. We have 10 this particular city sit as Republican delegates. The deadline registration will be April 22nd. So you need to register if you're going to register as a Democrat or Republican. Thank you.
Nasser Hussain.
Just not to be misled by mayors or Ayaan Parada's statements. The state gives you 2 options. You could approve it through the planning commission or through the building department directly. The building department is much faster. If they really like development, they should go with the building department approval. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And which is faster, the building department or the planning commission?
The building department does not have to meet in order to.
They could do it.
Something.
So if they want to
It's
change, you
a
could just
daily
go and bring it
task.
back. Every day they're there. Yeah, so you could make it as the building, if they really care about business, make the building department approve the plans and then come for you for a final approval. It doesn't say that the council can have final approval. It has the approval of the site plans has to either be through the plan commission or through the building department. So the building department just comes to you and you approve it. Second, this is something I noticed in the last seminar about the planning commission. It says it has to be representative for the community. Our planning commission fails this. I don't know if Mia is still there, but mostly there are no Muslim or Bengali or Yemeni person in the planning commission. This has to be fixed. Because a lot of people, I think it's the mayor's appointment, not theirs. So this has to be fixed, has to be a representative of these things. And Ayaan, mayor, if you really want the city to develop fast, make it a planning, not a planning, make it a building department administrative decision. They come, sure they follow all the codes. If all the codes are follows, don't micromanage.
Yeah,
Just
fine with
give them
that.
the license. That's it.
Madam Mayor,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can you just explain that just died though? Right? Yeah, I mean, by voting
Yeah, it's
no,
gone.
we have no, that was their first,
It could be
their,
brought back.
I'm sorry?
It could be brought back, it's not bad.
It has to be brought back by somebody.
Somebody who
that
voted no.
against it.
And so the problem is that,
Next meeting.
Yeah.
It has to be brought back tonight?
If it's a motion to reconsider, it has to be brought back in the same
Right.
meeting.
Yes. This is correct, and it should be, and it needs to be brought by somebody
who
Who voted no?
voted
Against
with
it.
the prevailing side.
Right, yeah.
No,
In this case.
not the necessary to the today.
And if I
Yep.
just may, to bring it back, to make it active.
Next.
So that we can, you, council, can talk about any possible changes, it really needs to be passed the resolution to set the public hearing, because the final decision, you made one final decision, which is kill it. But if you want to work on it and change it, you really need to have a motion to reconsideration, to bring it back onto the table, to set the public hearing, so that you can get more information, and you will still have a chance to pass a final vote at the public hearing, which at that time you can see if your concerns are addressed. If they're not, you can still vote no. If they are, we can move on and bring these funds to the city.
Harry, for the verbiage for the motion, how would that?
All you just need to say, I would move to reconsider the motion, I don't have the title of the motion.
Modified.
But in order to do that, we would need,
There would have to be tonight, somebody.
No.
and there would also have to
Just to
be, wouldn't
open
there
up,
have to
we
be a
can-
motion to,
You
motion by
you would reconsider the motion.
to amend the agenda or
That'll
to?
come, the amendments to it will happen at next.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
but
the next
the agenda
meeting.
itself, I mean, we're not in a place
we-
in
we-
the.
No, you can do that at any time.
Yeah,
Reconsider,
yeah,
do it at any
yeah.
time,
Reconsideration is appropriate anytime during the
okay,
meeting.
thank you.
Madam Chair,
Councilman?
if everything okay, but my understanding, whatever zoning right now, whatever the law we have, is not covering the state, whatever is covering.
The zoning ordinances that we have now
Yeah.
make it so that Hamtramck is ineligible to participate in this program, which means that there are certain funds that Hamtramck will be ineligible to receive. That doesn't mean that some changes to the proposed zoning ordinances might not be acceptable, that could be acceptable to council, that could make it work so that you wouldn't cut off the funds. To get to
Okay,
that
I
point,
realize
where you
that.
can think about that, again, we need a motion to reconsider it.
Well, we have to do it tonight?
Has to be tonight.
Okay, if we can make the motion eliminating number one.
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
hold on, discussion, I'm
No.
just proposing.
You can't. What you can do is make a motion to,
And
What? I'm not gonna bring the motion, same edition?
Councilman Hassan, please, wait a second, let me tell you, tonight is not, if you bring this back up onto the table for discussion, for consideration, it is not a final decision. What you are bringing up today is the package that was presented to council earlier.
Yeah.
But it's not a final decision. You are going to set a public hearing for the next, probably.
First
the
or
next council
second?
meeting For March 3rd. At that time, you will get more information.
March-
The final decision.
I understand.
Will be made on March 3rd.
March 3rd is
And
the
March-
first or second?
And March 3rd, what is the second reading?
Well, second reading we
No,
need to deny it.
No. Second reading is, it is appropriate after the public hearing, and at the meeting that you have the second reading, to make amendments at that time.
Madam Mayor.
That is the time to
Okay.
make amendments.
Councilman?
I'd like to make the motion in order to be able to bring back
To
item.
reconsider.
To reconsider, item 7C of new business.
I support.
okay. I don't think we need any more discussion. We have a motion to reconsider.
The motion is appropriate.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And
Now
that
you
sets
need
the.
to back that resolution and set the public hearing.
Yes, we don't need a separate resolution, separate public hearing.
You brought the
Yes.
resolution
Now you
back up.
bring it
for
back on the
discussion.
table to vote on it
Okay.
again and
All right,
discuss.
so we'll have a public
If you
hearing
wish.
on March 3rd.
Yep, and we, and continue that motion with, on March 3rd to have a public forum, or, I'm sorry.
hearing.
Public hearing,
We're
sorry.
setting the date.
Setting the date.
Okay. Setting the date.
Sure, go ahead.
Motion?
And you, I make the motion?
Yeah.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we have a public hearing set for, we have first reading and public hearing set for March 3rd.
Sure.
Now we go back to.
Back to public comment.
Public comment. And go Meyer.
Okay. I haven't been here in a while, I feel really out of it, you know, it's like, nice to see my whole political family here in town. I've been working weeks, I've still got a few more weeks, and then I'll be back to cause trouble after that. But in the meantime, I want to thank the folks who have moved forward the Mural project and the work that Kathy's done on that. It's a very complex process, and we need your support on that. This is just one phase today, and there'll be 3 or 4 more, and then hopefully if they all fall in place, we'll see a mural, and Ali and will have their new building in another place, and everyone will be happy, and the whole city will be happy, and won't that be nice? Then we can raise other issues and other concerns. But I do want to say a few things. It sure is different when you don't know what's going on, and you just look at people's faces, because you all just give such tremendous body language and expressions on your face. I know exactly who likes what someone says and who doesn't. I mean, you don't even have to know the issue, but it's very interesting to read body language. I don't know what that was about. I'm going to go home and study it, but I thought it was strange that after you all voted, the mayor, or the chair, essentially, sort of scolded and shamed the people who voted opposing to her. I don't know if that's a role of a chair to do that, first of all. It was over with. I don't think the chair has to come up and say the opposite view after it's been voted by majority vote. The other possibility is that the 4 people who voted against it maybe didn't know enough about the proposal, so maybe you should find a way to study the things you're voting on, so you know what you want. I just certainly didn't know what it was, and it sounds complex to me. So I just want to raise, it's nothing new. I mean, this is the same old thing. The city has issues to deal with. Your development is important. By the way, Hamtramck is developing an expansive idea for a proposal for a business a structure in the city that we want to offer as a solution to the failing business climate, because it doesn't, the DDA is not doing the job, they're not covering everybody, it just doesn't work that way. There's a better model, and we've talked about it at other meetings with the community, and I get a sense that they like another idea, which we'll present later. I do want to stress that, we all want development in the city, we all want to bring more businesses in here. I think finally we're all catching on to that, and I appreciate Ian's concern. We've all felt that way. How do you do it, and who do you let in, and who do you give a business to, and who don't you, and you don't say it out loud. I mean, there's a difference between development and gentrification. We all know what that is. We want to develop the city, and we want to make everybody happy, and taxes low, and everybody has a business, but we don't want to gentrify the city to the point where only rich white people come back in here, and pretty soon housing is double the cost, and and coffee costs $4 and shit like that. So as you develop your city, you have to be concerned about gentrification. How many minutes do I get? I forgot.
So, do we have any else for public comment? Then I will entertain a motion
I'll make
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any objection? We are adjourned.
Yes, here's your pen.
Sure.